Hello and welcome to our new episode. In this episode, we are going to talk about two new APIs that we have created, and this time we are going to connect the front end and get the response. Here, as you see, I have the application already open. I want to close it and run it again so we see the logs together. Okay, as you see, I have added some logs. We can see the wallet ID here that we get from the backend API. Then let's go to our application. Here we have the balance also. So now we want to send some tokens to another address. For the destination address, I also use a wallet that I own, so we don't lose our tokens. Actually, tokens are test tokens, but it's better to have two wallets so we can test transaction from one to the second one. So we click on send, and as you see here, we have a send BNB page. Inside the page, let's go to users table, and I copy one of my wallet ID I want to send to this. So click on paste and allow paste, and it's here how much we want to send. I can say I want to send 0.001. Yeah, this is a UI that we need to fix. It has some overlapping here that I will fix it later, but for now we want to focus on our functionality. So click on send. Okay, now it sent the confirmation code to our email. I can check the email or I can check the API response. Because as you remember last time during the development of the backend API, we also return the OTP because we don't care actually if we return the OTP in the production environment. We never should return the OTP. It should only send to the user email. But now we can retrieve it from our logs. So let's check the logs. Inside the logs here, I have the OTP. So let's put on OTP 686646. Now I am on testnet. Let's check the logs, and this is the latest transaction hash that we got. We can easily search transaction hash inside PSC scan. And now as you see, it has a success status. It has 19 block confirmation, and it happened like 57 seconds ago. Also, it has from to value, transaction fee, everything. So actually we were able to connect to a real blockchain, and we were able to perform transaction inside the blockchain. So now let's dive to the code because we want to see how we do this. The backend code I already explained in another video, so you should by now already know how we interact with the blockchain network from our Lambda function. In this video, I will explain how we are going to interact from our React Native app with Lambda function. So let's get to it. As you see here, I have added send screen. This send screen is actually this one. So let's go and see how it works. It uses a function called use authenticated mutate. As you remember, before this, we were using use authenticated fetch. Fetch function is normally, we use it when we want to call a GET call in the REST. When we have REST APIs, normally to fetch the GET calls, we use SWR. But if we want to post or put, then we better use SWR mutate. That's why I have created use authenticated mutate that uses use SWR mutation. And the only difference is this one, instead of mutate, give you a trigger. And we should use this trigger to interact with the backend and get the backend response. I show you how. But the only change that I have done here is inside the fetcher function that I add the console logs, because it's really easier to see the errors and debug the code when we have a nice logging of the request and response. So in the production, we always remove the logs in front end. We mostly log everything in the backend. But if some crash happens, as we added before Sentry, we use Sentry to report the crash to our backend, but we don't use console log normally in production. So, but I added here so we can easily check the values in our development. So this is the change we have here. And I also created use authenticated mutate. So let's go and go back to our function. Here we get the trigger from this hook, and we call the start transaction API. We pass it the destination address, token, and amount. And then when the user clicks on send press, we try to call that API. And after that, if the response was successful, we pass the transaction ID to the next page, and next page is our confirmation page. The rest is very easy. We have a paste click button. Inside this button, we just paste the information from clipboard. You can see the code here. It's just clipboard.getString async, and clipboard is from expo clipboard. And at the end, we have some rendering, some sizes, some styling that you already know. Let's go to the verify transaction. Let's see what we have in this screen. As you see here, we have the code variable that when we type it here, we put it inside the state. And we have the trigger. So it's actually really similar to the other screen, only the difference is here we check the code in the client side also that it's 6 characters. If you check the user code that we created before, here we just want it to be 6 characters. So if it's 6 characters, then we try to send it to the backend. And what we send to backend, we send the code as OTP and transaction ID that we receive from the last route. You see here, we use route function, and we get the transaction ID from the params. And we confirm the transaction. Here, if the trigger is successful, then we set the error message to transaction confirmed successfully. It will appear in your wallet shortly. Actually, later we will change this message name because we until now we only use it to show errors, but this time we are actually giving info to user. So later we change it to something like set info message. So we can show errors in the other part, but I didn't want to make it too complicated, so I use the same function that we have to show the error, because anyway it's just one message. And after that we navigate the user to the main page. The only thing that I want you guys to see in this screen is this one. As you see, we normally have undefined here, but here, because we are going to pass the string in this page, so we need to put it as a string. Then here inside the send, when we navigate, we can pass the string value. So thank you for watching, and this was how we are going to connect from React Native to our two last APIs that needed for confirming a transaction in the blockchain. In the next video, I will show you how we are going to get the transactions from the blockchain and then show it inside our wallet. So see you in the next videos. Bye bye.